Alrighty, folks. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody who can hang out here live today. I appreciate it. And for those of you catching it on the replay, I appreciate you doing that as well. And this week we're going to get back to kind of our usual shenanigans in these live code sessions, and we're going to build out together, sort of collaboratively, a feature of a fresh application. Called Islands. So Islands isn't like a concept that's unique to Fresh. Actually, it's something that it's an architecture pattern where you have a site that is mostly generated on the server, but there are like small components within that page that actually contain interactive client-side JavaScript. And if you build your site in such a way where just those little pockets of interactivity are powered by JavaScript, you can still have that client-side interactivity to do interesting JavaScript things, but enjoy some of the performance of the static site for the majority of your content. And Fresh, the web framework for Dino, implements islands as a sort of a top level idea where most of your application is sort of by default generated on the server, but there are significant components that you can actually ship to the client with some JavaScript code to handle some of that client-side interactivity. So today we're actually going to be doing that live together. And if this is your first time hanging out for one of these sessions, the way this works is it's pretty informal. It's definitely not a presentation where I am going to go through a script and tell you exactly what it is we're going to do in a predefined order. It's more like we're pair programming together for those folks on the line who are hanging out live. If you have questions or want to go in any particular direction, definitely let me know. But we're going to be doing this together. We're going to be writing code. We're going to be referencing documentation, kind of working through things in real time. So feel free to hang out if that sounds interesting to you. If you're watching this on the replay, feel free to kind of skip around. We'll also have in the description to this video on YouTube, like a link to the demo code repository that we're going to take a look at. So as we are kind of iteratively adding to things, you'll be able to see what we do there. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So I'll start sharing my screen, probably a little bigger than that though. So you might remember from last time, we actually started from the Dino SaaS kit, which is sort of a pre-built template application that you can use that is built on Fresh. It uses Dino KV, like the built-in key value database in Dino, and it gives us some stuff for free. So like the sort of default application is this like product hunt clone that has some amount of authentication in it, and you can submit projects and stuff like that. Ultimately, that's not what we're going to do. Like our sample application, I shared some designs for it a couple sessions ago, but the concept is it's like a website to power like a preschool. So there's going to be like a public marketing site that kind of talks about the school and what it is, and there's going to be like a back end like admin interface where if you sign up, you can sign up your little dinos, which are the dinosaur mascots of Dino. You can sign them up for classes and things like that, and there'll also be like a level of like authenticated content that's only available if you're just logged in. So that's ultimately what we want to get to. But the SaaS kit was a convenient way to get started. And last time, and definitely check out the past videos or past pull requests and commits to the repo as well. But we actually implemented Auth0 as our authentication provider. And I showed kind of how to use Auth0 as like an OAuth 2 provider within the context of this application. There was a little bit of code we had to write to do that. So if you're interested in how we set that up, we definitely have a video of that you can check out. But today what I wanted to do is actually get started on kind of the marketing site side of things and start with this front page. And in the original designs, which I don't think I have handy, which is a shame, but here actually maybe the easiest way to do that is to bring up what I actually use as my like wireframing tool of choice. Yeah, here it goes. It actually is present right here. So this is a tool called Balsamiq, and it's pretty old. Like it's been around for a long time. I know like if I was cool, I'd probably use Figma, but I really like to use Balsamic because it's easy to throw together like low fidelity mockups like this one. And this is like ultimately what we want to get to is like some kind of hero image with an H1, some marketing copy, a CTA that encourages somebody to log in right away, and then maybe a link to another marketing page. But this thing is actually the thing I want to try to implement today is like some kind of carousel component and there's probably lots of like components I could pull off the shelf to do this, but I wanted to see like if I could build one just kind of from scratch within Fresh and do this as an island, because I think this will require some client side JavaScript. I'd like to have some buttons that you click that when you click them they flip to a different image. So we're going to kind of implement our own sort of low rent image carousel based on like with an island in Fresh. So let's dive in and try to do that. So for starters, we'll head in here and I do actually have like a couple of images that I just like grabbed off the internet with some baby dinosaurs in them. And these are the images that I'm going to kind of want to flip through in my carousel. They're in the static folder in my Fresh application. And this folder is just going to be, served, unchanged to a client when it's requested. So, slash dino1.jpg, like if we were to, pop that in here, whoops, I didn't actually, use the dino1.jpg there. So yeah, so static assets, nothing too crazy there if you've used similar frameworks before, but those are just going to be served to the browser, without any significant processing. There is a file server that's built into Fresh, but within our routes folder here, this is where we, actually add the interactivity or like define the different routes in our site and figure out what's actually sent to the client. So if we go to index.tsx, this is going to be the file that's actually used to display our homepage. So today it's actually got quite a lot in there that we don't need because it's using like the product hunt sort of demo. So we're actually going to end up like kind of deleting a lot of this stuff, but within a Fresh application like this, and I might actually just start ripping stuff out because that'll actually allow me to sort of talk about what's actually here that's interesting. So we don't really need any of this stuff. Really, eventually we might need the user and the item, or definitely the user model we definitely will need, but a lot of this stuff is based on that product hunt clone, so we don't really care about that. So the selector, the state, I think we do kind of need that, but the pagination we're not going to need, and page props we might end up needing, so we'll let that chill for now. Yeah, so we have like this first sort of block of code here in a page in Fresh is a handler, and within this object literal, you can set up functions to respond to all the like HTTP requests that can go to this URL. So in this case, we have like a handler for a get, and when that happens, this again is executed server side and allows us to kind of like query a database or do whatever like database logic or like data fetching we might need to do prior to actually rendering the page. So this does a lot of stuff that today we don't need because we are just we're not doing the product hunt stuff anymore. But the last thing that it does that's useful is call this render function. And that's going to, I guess we need that. Right, so we can just knock out the async there. I was wondering why the yellow squiggly was there. Eventually we might need to add it back, but we don't need it for now. But this handler thing will let us, Execute. Yeah, I'm looking over into the chat and just saying like, yes, this is definitely live. So that's why it's a little, it's definitely unscripted as we said at the outset. But there are, a few other videos in the series that you can check out that were also live sessions, but like implemented more of the application than we're going over here. So, for my Fresh app, I have this like handler, and when like my index route gets called, this get request gets called, and then this render function is what actually will, you know, execute execute a chunk of code that will return some JSX that will define the HTML content for the page. And these other components are useful for the existing or were useful for the existing homepage, but the time selector component we don't need anymore, nor do we actually need this page selector. So we're actually going to just like kind of strip it all the way down here. And now like we actually just have the stuff that we need. So we have this handler, which eventually is going to, render, you know, render or is eventually going to like fetch some data that makes this page dynamic. And then this default export down here, this should be like a JSX component that actually renders the page itself. And this project, because it's based on Saskit, uses the a Twind or Twind. I don't actually know how you say that out loud, but a plugin that will allow us to use Tailwind utility classes within the within the content we're rendering on the server. So that's where like these like little utility tokens come in. And I'm actually still learning Tailwind myself, so there's going to be a lot of derping around with that to the extent we need to use Tailwind utility classes. So if folks in the chat know Tailwind better than I am, I do. I'll be in your debt for that knowledge. But if we clear that out, we can see that there's really no content on the page anymore. Everything that is there is from this this layout file here. So the underscore app.tsx, that is like sort of the conventional like layout wrapper for a page in Fresh. So every page like gets this content in it sort of by default. So this is the this is the place where you would find that. But in here, again, like we are going to start to define our sort of marketing page. So we'll, put in an H1 that says, as in our design, dinos should grow up outside. And the theme is kind of based on like my kiddos when they were very small went to a nature preschool that was pretty sweet. So and they did basically everything outside. So that's the concept for our school that we're about to create. And this will have some kind of to go here, and we'll update that as we go. But then we're also going to have a section which is going to contain our like first interactive island, which is like that a carousel component that we're going to try to create here together. And all these little sections are kind of coming together and being swapped out in real time, or we're sort of getting an automatic reload here, which is nice. So this carousel component, let's see if we can build one of those. So in Fresh, the way that the framework can kind of determine which components need to have like a client-side piece is you put those components in this islands folder. And conventionally, they're camel-cased components that do a specific thing. They will have some kind of interactivity that defines their behavior. Otherwise, they would just be other components that you would use elsewhere in the site. But islands are unique in that they'll usually manage some kind of client-side state. So a lot of times you'll see use effect or use ref from like the Preact hooks here to again, like sort of manage whatever that state happens to be. A signal is usually the hook that you use if you're actually trying to track some kind of data that needs to be tracked on the client side as well. So we're going to do something kind of similar here. So we'll create an island. We'll call it, carousel.tsx. And this one is what we're going to do to try to, show that interactive component that we called for from the design. And the sort of place I'm going to start actually is with this like counter that's in the fresh docs. So I'll pull this in first because it actually does a couple of things for us. It has the use effect. I don't actually know that we're going to need. I might comment that out for now because I don't think we actually need to, fire off any asynchronous requests or use a timer or anything like that. We also don't need a lot of this timer stuff. And instead of calling it countdown, we'll call it carousel. And I don't think we actually even need to have any props passed in just yet. So we'll kind of, X that out for now. The sort of state that we need to track here, though, is I think like the selected index or the number. Yeah, because we're going to have like some kind of hard coded, at least hard coded for now, list of images. So, and I can track that maybe just like an array here, and I'll just call it. We can just have slash. I think it was like dino1.jpg. And for this thing, we're just going to have like some number of images that we want the user to be able to browse through. So we'll set up like those URLs here, and basically we'll just track like an index for like whichever image we want to be currently showing. So so we'll call this like an image index, and we'll start that off at 0. And now for a lot of this other stuff, we have some like conditional rendering that's happening down here. We probably don't need a lot of that. But one thing to note is this now.value, or like this was essentially, this .value is how you access like the current value of the signal. So like if it was like image index .value, that's how we, will actually access what that value is. And we can actually assign, data to the value to update it and have that dynamically reflect on the page. So it's a slightly different than like if you've used React before and you use like a use state, which is kind of the primary way in which you'd track client-side state there. It's slightly different and may possibly like more JavaScripty because it's just a property that you're assigning to an object. So it's kind of nice in that way. But let's go ahead and get rid of that. And just to like kind of satisfy ourselves that this is working at all, let's just do something super, super simple. And we'll return a div here instead of a span. And then within this, we'll just like output, image index.value. And just kind of, again, satisfy ourselves that that's actually doing the thing that we need it to do. All right, so we have our like carousel component, and now if we want to use it within our route, like let's head back to index.tsx. Close a few of these out so we can have this handy. And if we want to use this carousel component, we can just include it. We can include it up here. So we're going to import carousel from ..islands carousel tsx, and that should work fine because I think this is the default export. It is. So once we have this carousel component, we can swap this out for the actual client-side component there. So we'll pop that in, and if all is working as we expect, we have the current image index happening there. Okay, so so far so good. We're making some progress. We do have a component that we can use. Um, Now let's see if we can like update that signal with some client side JavaScript. So for starters, we could probably do um, let's maybe just like wrap that in a paragraph, and maybe we can just work on like incrementing this value, and we could do that within like another set of controls down here, and maybe just like create a couple buttons, say. So we got a button that says you know previous, and then a button that says like next, say. And we can probably set up some on-click handlers here to actually start doing stuff when those buttons are clicked. So um, let's go ahead and set up an on-click now. And we might just be able to do this. Let's see if this works. If we do like image index value, I don't know if I can do an increment. We can try doing that. Actually, I would need a little bit of logic here to see like, because we can't like have the index be negative. So I'm going to probably just do like a little bit of conditional logic here instead, and just say like, all right, if image index dot value is equal to 0, or is maybe greater than 0. Let's do that, because then we can actually do something, and then we'll go. And then we can see, I don't know if you can just like directly decrement it like this. Yeah, so just heading over to the chat, I saw a question a couple minutes ago. Would it be any chance to be possible to set up Fresh using solid.js instead of Preact? I think it's, I don't know. I think a lot of Fresh is sort of built around Preact as the rendering engine. I don't know if we could switch it out for solid or not. I mean, with code, all things are possible, of course, but I don't know that it would be easy to do that off the dome. So that would be kind of my knee-jerk reaction. All right, so we have an on-click handler for our button, and we'll do something for next as well. So in this case, if the value is, we'll say less than our images.length, say, there's probably nicer terser JavaScripty things to do here, but then we can just try to increment it there. And we'll see how that works. I honestly, I'm not sure exactly if this is going to do the thing that I want it to do, but let's see. If we head back out here, our buttons don't even have any styling. That's interesting. Current. Oh, you know what? This that goes up too high. This does what we want, but this does not. That should stop at 2. So I think we want it to be, length -1. And that should be fine. So if we go up there, that's going to go there. Or if we wanted to be fancy, we could probably like next, if we get to 2, should probably just go back to 0. So then here, let's do this. We'll just do, in this case, we'll send it back to 0. So let's do that. If it's there, just set it to 0. And then we could probably do like a similar thing up here, right? Where if it's that, we want to set it to images.length -1 once again. So we just set like the previous index. So, all right, well, that's kind of cool. So let's see if that stuff all works. So if we go like next, it goes up to 2 and then goes back to 0. So it just keeps going through there. That's all very awesome. And if we go previous, it kind of does the same thing. It goes to 2 to 1 to 0 and then back up to 2. All right, well, we're making some progress here, I feel like. it's definitely not beautiful as yet. We're going to have to look at that. That's certainly something where, I'm starting to get used to it with Tailwind, because like the kind of the Tailwind way is like everything by default is like nothing until you start like adding utility classes to it. So that I'm going to have to kind of figure out as I go here. But um, all right. So beauty aside, this is kind of doing what we expect it to do. So we've got some client-side JavaScript that's maintaining the state in a way that we're sort of happy with. So now instead of just like having the current image index here, really what we want is probably an image, like swapping out an image source, or like we could also like set a background image of a div. There's obviously a lot of different ways we could do this, different ways we might want to approach it, like from a CSS perspective. One of the nice things about doing like displaying an image as a background image for a div is like when you're trying to make like the layout responsive or like deal with sort of unequal like image sizes. There's stuff you can do with like background positioning and covering and filling and what have you that kind of make the styling a little more predictable. But just for the just for the sake of keeping it simple here, we'll just swap out like the source attribute of an image tag. So we'll say image source equals, and that's going to be something dynamic. And in this case, it's going to be, images sub image index dot value. And that should be like kind of good enough. Yeah. Okay. So like it's displaying like the first one and then the second one, then the third one, then the first one. So that's not too shabby. We're kind of have our image carousel here. So yeah, looking okay in terms of like functionality. I don't know that it's where we want it to be from like a style standpoint, because I think all right, well that's actually not as horrible as I would have thought, honestly, because I think it's actually shrinking down like kind of nicely. Cool. So all right, so let's like maybe work on seeing if we can make this this page look a little bit less busted. So the marketing copy and the H1, like we can kind of work with that. This little hero thing we should probably make look nice in a slightly different way. I can imagine some kind of like background image there, and then this one would actually the carousel would actually be a little further down the screen. But let's try and at least like center this, and then maybe see what we can do with these. See what you can do with these buttons, because this is not terribly attractive as is. So all right, so we've got this situation here, and let's take a look here. So we got like our div is like 100% width, and the whole thing is that, and then the section is also 100% width as well. And this has been sort of yeah, so this is going to sort of the full width of this container, which is kind of giving us the padding yeah, it's kind of padding us the same way as like our our header and our footer and all that jazz. So we just kind of need to okay, well, thanks for hanging out, folks. For those of you that do have to take off, yeah, like I said, it's definitely being recorded, and the code I'm going to actually push up after we're finished here as well. So if you want to see just like kind of the end result, you'll be able to do that as well. So cool beans. So we've got this main section that's kind of holding everything. So what we'd really like to do with this section is like kind of center align all the stuff here. And there's probably like a few ways to do that. So this is the trick, because I'm so derp on Tailwind. Like if I was just writing CSS by hand, I would know, very specifically how to do this. But like I know like almost none of the Tailwind like utility classes off the top of my head. So this is where we're going to have to kind of figure some stuff out and dive into the docs. So I actually already had this up already for Tailwind. So the components I think we want to do with React using HTML on your own CSS. I don't think maybe the components isn't what I want. Let me go to the docs for, oh, this is Tailwind UI. That's not what I want. This is not what I want at all. So no, Tailwind UI. They're trying to trick me into getting their like commercial offering or whatever. But like what I want is like the utility classes for like the stuff. You know, the layouts, sure, I want those. Like I bet I also like, are there some, yeah, like typography. Here we go. So like text LG, sure. So like for my H1, like I can kind of do that as we go here too. So like for, you know, I can just kind of do that. And I would kind of expect like this would, oh no, like I guess it's larger, but that's not actually all that big. Oh, so there's a bunch of them. There's like 3XL and 4XL. How about like 4XL? That might be nicer. This is where we're going to show like Kevin learning Tailwind at the same time. So yeah, okay, that's pretty good. So that's like bigger. That's probably what we want. Font weight, yeah, I probably want like font bold on a header. So like, here's my like starter thing. So like, I know I could do a component, like a, you know, a JSX component that could sort of group all these things together. And I could use that to have like all my H1s look a certain way. But yeah, like all these utility classes, that kind of bugs me about this is like, I have to kind of, you know, write this huge like string of, you know, tokens every time I want to do like basic stuff. Though like I'm willing to admit that like I don't know Tailwind well enough yet to like really understand like the zen of this framework. So eventually like I want to kind of really invest in it because I know lots of people who love it who are very smart and good front end developers. So I want to figure it out, but like I do have some initial like WTF about, you know, using this generally. This paragraph is probably fine. I wonder if there's like a typography, like font family, like line height. Yeah, so like line height, I do kind of care about. So like leading 6, like that is something that I'd want like on most of my paragraphs too. So if I do this, leading 6, how does that look? It kind of doesn't do what I thought it did actually. So leading 6, what does that do? It does give it line height 1.5 rem, which is what I want. I guess if this went to multiple lines, that's where we would start to see it. But like the sort of the like readability, you know, standard for a line height is about like 1.4 rem. So something in that range is usually what I would look for. One comment from the chat. I also prefer to use CSS, but without being able to import CSS files and CSS modules directly into like Next.js or Astro, it's a bit more hassle than it's worth. Yeah, I think you can use like CSS and JS stuff. Like I'm 90% sure. I haven't like tried to do it as yet, but like I don't see why that wouldn't work. But it sounds like maybe you've already tried it there, Ollie, and it doesn't actually do what you think it does. So yeah, I would like obviously like because you can assign CSS dynamically like in JavaScript, there's, you know, things at your disposal there. But I think you're probably right in like I don't think Fresh is set up to like be able to import SCSS files for like Sass, say. I definitely know that's not a thing that you can do today in the framework. So all right, so we're you know, we're doing it. We're doing some tailwinding. It's happening. Now what I want to do is like we'll kind of leave this alone for now, and let's return to our carousel component here. And instead of like line height, what we really want to do is, yeah, some space between. I don't think that's exactly what we want. I think we want to. Like we could probably do flex 1, and then that I think would give us, you know, like automatically center align things. Is that going to work for me? Let's see. I don't know exactly if that's going to do what I want though. What does that do? No, that isn't it. Is it flex 1? I don't think that actually vertically centers stuff either. Like, because what I would do is like, if I was just writing CSS, I would do like a display flex and then just do like a column layout on this. And that would mostly give me what I wanted, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. So flex initial. So this is like how they flex basis. I think that's kind of what I know. Flex direction, flex call. Yeah, sure. Flex wrap. Oh, that does this. So that's for like wrapping or what have you. Yeah, cool. That's fine. Why don't I do like, I think I do want like flex direction first. So I'll do like flex call. Here's that. So that's probably like, and then I think I want to justify my items, justify content. Yeah, justify center is probably what I want. That makes sense. So that probably, oh no, it didn't do that either. I wonder why that is. Is that because this div is 100% width and then this image is not? I would have expected this though, like display block. Yeah, because if this container, is this not, yeah, why isn't this working? So probably, yeah, the display block property. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is not, because the div isn't, yeah, I feel like there must be like some kind of CSS reset thing happening here that I don't fully understand. So like the base style, like the pre-flight images are block level. Sure. So like container. No, that's not really what I want. Yeah, I might not fully kind of understand what they want me to do from like a layout standpoint here. Yeah, what do I want to do? So like aspect ratio. No, a container. Huh. Centering by default. I think that's kind of what I want to do. To center containers by default, I use the center in the theme container section. That doesn't seem what I like what I want to do though. I would think I'd rather yeah, like honestly, I would rather just do like apply that just to this container. I don't want to have like a default centering. So like columns 1. Display. Should I just do like inline? Is that what I want? Like, do I want to do like inline for this? That will at least like solve the, the block problem, I guess. No, that's not it. Display. Oh, display inline. Is it like inline block then? If that doesn't do that, because if it's display block, that is other than inline block. Well, like what would I want then? Is it just like display flex? Do I need that? Like, do I need to just like apply it that way? Is that what's happening here? Justify content center. Okay, so that is now at least like having an effect on this container, which is good. I think now these like the children are not like I suspect like these things are like not like there's probably something I need to apply to these to have that actually work. Um, flex plus flex call. Just add flex. Okay, yeah, we had a couple folks on the chat like desperately trying to tell me just add flex to the div, flex and flex call. Okay, yeah, that is definitely what I wanted to do. Now I need like these MX Auto and the container to center it. Okay, see, now we have like some folks who actually understand how Tailwind works, which is what we need. Well, that might not be it. So MX Auto on the container. I wonder if that's like, or did we mean MX Auto on the like the children? Here, let's see. So yeah, what do we want to do for? So we got the flex direction. Flex wrap. Align middle on the flex div. Okay, you could try that too. No, align middle doesn't seem to do what we wanted to do. But yeah, like do we like if we inline those or like inline block these, is that gonna do what we want? Probably not actually. Now let's see. This image is also items center. Okay, thanks chat once again. So instead of align middle, it's items center. Boom, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Very nicely done, Mark. I much appreciated. Yeah, clearly Kevin is pretty derp about how this Tailwind stuff is supposed to work. What CSS does items center give me? I wonder. Let's take a look. So if I get that item center, align items center. Okay, so that's where we pick up the Flexbox configuration there. Okay, so where would I have seen that in the docs? So like align items. So that, yeah, that's down there. So we like stretch, okay. So that's where, this is where all like the, yes, Mark, we are now relearning CSS in Tailwind. We're doing it. We're going to make it happen. So, cool beans. So that's pretty cool. So I think I just kind of need to figure out like how to write Flexbox or how to do Flexbox with the utility classes here. And most of these like individual settings, and that seems to be like maybe the pattern here that I should start to pick up about Tailwind is like each of these properties, like I just kind of have to map what I would do in regular CSS and just kind of assume that there's probably a token that just like does that thing. So like align item center for instance. Okay, well that's not so bad. So got our got our little guy here. I do kind of want to give him some amount of padding. I would also like this section. Maybe this section is where I want to introduce like a little bit of like padding because I'd maybe want to do like a different background color on this section as well. So let's see if I can't. And honestly, and actually, I might want to bring that into the carousel. Actually, like I would like the the container for this to actually be the section itself. And then I'm just going to I probably actually don't need the wrapping div. So I'm going to do this. So it just seems like that would probably fit better as part of this component, like making that entire thing a section instead of just like plopping it in there. Like I might change my mind on that if I ever wanted to have like a carousel as a part of like another page, say. But I don't want to do that now. So I'm going to pull the entire section in there. I'm going to give that like my um, class, and then I'm just going to do this instead. So I'll just do like carousel because I actually want to style this section. Okay, sweet. So that's still kind of doing all the stuff that I wanted to do. So now, like in addition to the flexbox stuff happening, now this is like, so this is my next like, how am I supposed to do this in a tailwindy way? Like I'm very quickly going to have like a bajillion little tokens inside this class declaration. Like how do I write that in a way that's not complete insanity? Like should I have flexbox configuration like on one line, and then maybe if I'm going to do like spacing and what have you, like maybe I do it on another line. It seems kind of bonkers to me though, but let's go with it and see kind of if something emerges as like a nice way to write it. So we have the alignment here. Now we kind of want yeah, I think we maybe saw like layout, sure. Spacing, yeah, we want like the padding. Oh, py, okay, so like padding in the y axis with like whatever number it is. So like py 6. I wonder what these, like, do these numbers like always apply to some kind of rem value? Is that, I wonder if that's how this works, like in tailwind land. There's like a mapping of like py blah to some kind of value in like rem. So yeah, I bet like that's like a something that's documented somewhere is like what like these numbers mean in like units. So cool. Okay. So we're gonna go with like py whatever. Yeah, like py8. What the hell? Let's see how that works. So we got py8. And then that should kind of give us, yeah, sure. So that's giving us a little bit of room where this could be kind of nice. Why this footer is this like enormous? This footer. Okay, so there's like the main. I wonder what the main. Okay, so no, that's okay. The thing I probably wouldn't want though, like oof, 720p my eyes. This is true. It's on I think it's like a StreamYard situation. I could honestly, I've been one of the comments I imagine is because like on the YouTube live, like maybe it's 720 instead of like 1080. I think that might be a setting in StreamYard, which is the software I'm using right now. All right, I want you to put a button and text on top of the image. Mark indicates that like the Tailwind VS Code extension helps with like the class names and values. That's probably a good idea. I should probably fire that up. All right, so maybe instead of like doing a background color, I think like probably the padding is fine. We'll leave that just like kind of how it is. But now let's see if we can like make these buttons not ridiculous. So I wonder if Tailwind has like button styles and whatnot. Like they have to, right? Like that's got to be a thing. Like certainly like borders, effects, like a box. Yeah, we'll probably want like some of that stuff. But do they? Yeah, interactivity, accent, color, like cursor. Yeah, cursor, sure. But seriously, like, do I like hand roll my buttons like from these utility classes with like borders and stuff? I must. This has to be what they expect me to do. Unless like, I mean, is there like a copy pastable, you know, thing where I can like see like what a tailwind button is supposed to look like, or like this, like, okay. So Mark is telling me from the chat once more, like, in a less than stoked way, like, yep, like I have to kind of hand roll my button styles with the utility classes. Um, which I don't know, like whatever. Like again, once you do it once, it's probably not a big deal, but it would be like kind of nice if maybe I could just, jack a button style. And okay, this is the actual OpenAI website. I think like what I would like is like some examples. Like I'm trying to copy pasta some maybe some templates. No, the components is the tailwind thing. Templates. Um, yeah, I don't want those either. Playground resources. Yeah, sure. All right. I mean, whatever. Let's hand roll our button here, I guess, is how this is going to work. So probably we want some padding, probably on the button. So let's do like on a button, what would that be? Would that be like a, and we probably want both of these to be the same. So honestly, like we might want to do like a class, or like truthfully, we probably just want like a button component. Like that would be the most like, Reacty or like JSXy thing to do. So let's do like a function carousel button, and because we want to like sort of capture these CSS classes to use multiple times. So we'll return some JSX here, and in this case it's just going to be a button with whatever CSS classes we want. And then we're probably going to want like a name prop or whatever. And this starts to be kind of a pain in the ass in TypeScript too, if I'm being honest. Like you have to like kind of like the pattern is often that you will like create like a sort of an interface or something that like will define the kind of props that you expect. And that's a bit of a bother, if you ask me. Like as somebody who has been writing JavaScript since the bad old days and is used to just like being able to throw around JavaScript object literals like it's nothing. It seems like a little bit of extra work, but I'm going to need like a prop for like the text of the button, and then also like for the the event handler, I would say. So let's see if we can do that first. So I think it's like what interface, not BC. I'm going to call them the CV props. And then I think we're going to need like a title, which is going to be a string. Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. Visual Studio Code. And then I think we're going to need a, on, let's call it click. And then how do I do that like in an interface in TypeScript? I always forget that too. So like the interface is like a function. I can just kind of say like, I think I can do that. And then like whatever the arguments are. But in this case, I don't think it would be like there wouldn't be an argument to that. It's just like it needs to be a function, right? And then do I do like that? Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. All right, so these are the things. All right, so we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna have like props.title, and then we're gonna do on click, and then props.click. And I think like that should be like fine adjacent for like how this is going to work. And again, I'm kind of MacGyvering this. I think like the on click we could put up there. And then now we could probably like start adding our CSS classes, but let's refactor these buttons out to like use our, our new component. So we got like carousel button. I think we just called this click as one of the props. And actually, you know what? Probably what would make the most sense here is like I could probably do like the children, right? Like how does that? I'm trying to remember how that works in JSX. So rather than having like a title prop, like that might be kind of dumb. Like maybe I could just do. Yeah, Craig does say that that's a good point. Like you could definitely do that. Like you could have a constant like that. I feel like the reacty way that like I sort of feel like I have learned you're supposed to do, and this is the way that like you want to as like the way to encapsulate styling for a reusable component. Um, React button HTML attributes, and then you just get all the button props. Oh, that's a good idea. That's definitely a thing. Interface button prop. Oh, so okay. Yeah, I guess that's true because then you can just like whatever, like I could spread all the props like across the button, I would imagine, and that might be kind of nice and flexible. Like I like that idea. I'll probably do that. I'll do that here in a sec. Like maybe because we're actually running up kind of on the end of our time here. So I do like that idea. I think I'm going to actually do that before I push this code up. But just so we can like start to go in this direction, let's let's just kind of do the thing here, and we'll give it a title and just see like if this actually kind of works. Yeah, again, like title, probably not the most reacty way to do this, but like whatever, it's probably fine. And then I might like just take this, do that, and then I'll pop in this this logic instead, and kind of get that out of here. Sweet. So like if we go over here now, like theoretically this should still work. Yep, that does. So that's good. All right, so that's all like at least kind of refactored and now doing its stuff like with our custom button. And now like this is the, the time at which we could do, our string of utility classes here, right? So let's just do like I'm just going to guess here and see if I'm right. So what if I did like a P4, would that just like add like is that not a thing or no? Like, how do I just do like padding across the board? Yeah, I thought that should have worked like P whatever, like P4. Is that because they're inline elements? Like, is that the situation? So they don't like the padding doesn't work? Yeah, so they've got the thing. Yeah, the P4 doesn't seem to element style. Oh no, that's class is what I wanted. Whoops. Class is what I wanted. There we go. That's what I was missing. Yeah, some margin is probably good. So like we think we want like we could just do like a quick and margin, I imagine that's got to be like M something, right? Like if I had to guess, maybe like an M1, say. I bet that's a thing. Yeah, it is. So it just gives us like a little Scotia padding there. Okay. So yeah, so good feedback there. Like at 720, the text is probably a little rough to read. So that's good feedback. Next time I'll make sure that we do 1080p if I'm going to do like a screen share at this level. But with that, like we are actually at the top of the hour here, so I'm going to have to probably wrap it up at that point. But if you were me, you learned something today. Like we got like a little made a little progress, like figuring out how these utility classes in Tailwind work. But we also created our first like interactive island that's doing some stuff. Um, we use this signal, which is essentially our way of tracking client side state, and we were able to kind of update that and dynamically update like the source attribute of an image. And we kind of have like our little carousel situation going with our dinosaur pictures. So I'm reasonably happy with that. Um, but yeah, next time definitely we'll make sure we're the stream is set to 1080p so we get a little higher resolution. I can't imagine how the text would be a little rough. Without that. So we'll make sure to do that next time. And yeah, again, before I push up the code, I think I will take Mark's advice, which I think is a good one, and just like extending the React like button props and just like spreading those across the button like component itself. And then I'll probably, instead of having like a prop for like this, the contents, I think I'll just like include like the children inside the button. That should be quite a lot more flexible than like including that as a prop. So we'll probably end up going in that direction. And right, Mark, GG, everybody. Mark definitely MVP. Everybody else hanging out, dropping ideas. Really appreciate it. That's what makes these sessions fun, is just kind of pair programming together. So yeah, like I said, I think we'll go ahead and wrap us up there. But thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll be back next week to keep going. I'll create a Discord event that'll talk about like what we're going to do. But I'll probably like choose another feature or like maybe go in a different direction with this application, based on our requirements. We might actually get into like having an authenticated interface, maybe do some data access. We'll see kind of what feels correct, but check the events section of the Discord, and the time and YouTube live link will be there as well. So until then, thanks again, folks. Really appreciate you hanging out, and we'll talk again soon.